What's up? I'm here with this guy, still. What I want to talk to you about today...
Like you're
actually,
stuck.
actually, I don't want to talk to you about anything. I want to ask him some questions. Systems, right? Where this is coming from is, we did a vlog at Windsor Castle, and...
We did a couple.
Yeah, okay, we did a couple. But you emphatically gave your definition on what's a hustle, side hustle, business owner, entrepreneur, how they're different, who can stay on the beach and have fun, who can be on the beach on the laptop. And I saw a lot of comments in LinkedIn, and actually I played the vlog in one of my classes because I have a lot of students that want to set up businesses, they want to be business owners. Okay. And a reoccurring question or theme seemed to be about systems. How do you build a system? And I'm going to frame this for an audience of small business owners and people with side hustles. Okay. Like, what systems do you need? Because you've built a company, and this company has worked or is working successfully for over a decade. So you must have systems in place.
Yeah. So how did
you build them, and what are the most important systems? And when we think about systems, the ones that are generalizable, so not just like, if I want to build a fashion online business, these are the systems.
So there's a train literally outside this hotel. So you're gonna hear that every few minutes, a train. So I'll show you guys that. And then there's also a plane and some ships. So it's a pretty cool view that we have. So just to explain that noise you hear every 5-10 minutes, hopefully you don't hear it that many times, because that means we're talking too long. But systems, to answer. So every enterprise, small or big, has a system. You have to have a system. It's just about how efficient your system is. Because to get your business going, to be able to process payments, get the product out, offer your service, you got to make it happen somehow. There's got to be some kind of flow. Even if it's an organized chaos, it's still making something happen at the very end, whether it's handing a plate of food or giving a person a pair of shoes. To me, it's about efficiency, because you create a company, you and your mother have a company where you guys sell shoelaces. It may be so inefficient. Effectively, you get the shoelaces to the customer, but it's just, okay, we have the box in this part of the room, and then we have the postage on that side of the room, and then we have the boxes up here, instead of a workshop of steps. 1, 2, 3, boom. 1, 2, 3, boom. So
did you watch that McDonald's movie?
With Ray Kroc?
Yeah, it's all there. The bit that sticks with me is
the McDonald's brothers. That's Southern California.
They drew out a floor plan.
San Bernardino, I think.
You know better than me.
Yeah.
They drew a floor plan.
Okay.
To find out the best way of using the floor space and assembling the burgers, and they counted the number of pickles.
There you go.
And how the tomato ketchup goes onto the tomato sauce, whatever you want to say.
Tomato.
Tomato, if you're from Manchester. How that goes on the burgers. Because they wanted to basically streamline and optimize the process.
That's exactly it.
So, let me just recap though. What's your definition of a system?
Like I said, a system is a process that delivers a product or a service to someone who's requesting it.
What's the difference between a process and a system?
A process are the steps. The system is a summation of that, or a large snapshot of it. So when people ask about systems, every company has a system. Whether it's inefficient or not is the question. Whether it's cost effective or not is the real question. Because that's what you try to refine and try to improve, so that you're able to cut costs, cut time, cut energy, and develop more margins. So when you said people were asking, because you told me this too, that, hey man, people are asking, we should do a vlog on this. And now you're asking me it. That's what I remember thinking about at the time. Oh wow, people are saying, how do I develop a system? And I go, well, if you're starting a company, you're going to develop a system. You don't think of it as one, but what you really need to think about is, how can I make it frictionless, the least amount of steps possible, easy for my customer, great interface, good experience. That's the thing that...
So let me try and understand what you're saying and put it into a very simple example, right? you sell things online. Let's just say that you sell clothes online, right? And we look at the system and the process. So one aspect is somebody places an order online and you receive a notification.
Okay.
Then what happens, right? Then you get the notification, and then something has to happen where that eventually translates to you receiving the money and the person receiving the item of clothing, right? But I guess that the processes in place are, okay, I receive an email, now what happens? Who reads the email?
I mean, it's just...
How many times, but let's just break it down for people. Like, have you thought about how many times a day you will check your email? Do you just like check it whenever you receive an email and then go, oh, I just got an order. Let me just go and like get the clothes.
I think it works like McDonald's. You know, McDonald's
example
is great.
The reason I'm saying that is because some people, and it might be dictated whether it's a side hustle or not, because if it's a side hustle, you might say, I'm just going to check my emails at like 6 p.m. when I knock off work. And then when I check my emails, I see that there is...
So this is for a side hustle.
But also for a business, because it might be the case, depending on the volume of the orders, where you don't think, oh, there's an order, let me just go and get the T-shirt.
Yeah.
And then box it up.
So you just wait. Yeah.
And then you go, oh, there's another one. Oh, but I'm already over here getting the clothing. So some companies are going to say like, okay, we check the emails like every hour or every 2 hours or something. And then when we get that lot of orders, then we process that lot of orders. Probably it's not just on a bespoke one. If you've got really expensive products and a small number of clients, then possibly that's the case, right? But I'm just thinking that then there's the point when you get the clothing, you have to package it, you have to weigh it, you have to put the price on it. I remember that when I was selling some stuff online, but this was a long time ago, right? That you could get a program so that I was printing stamps using my PC, because I realized that like the process of like, you know, I could do the putting the clothes in the bag, and then, you know, at first it's like you just write somebody's address, and then after a while you realize if you get a number of orders, it makes more sense to paste the address from the email onto a label and to print the label, right? So then that becomes another process, right? But then it's like the holdup was walking along with these bags and queuing up in a post office and then getting people annoyed behind you when you've got like 20, 30 bags. You have to weigh them, and then you have to say how much that is, and then they put it on the scales, put the label, and then they put it in the bag, right? Whereas I realized, oh wow, there's this software where I can buy myself some scales at home, and I can weigh them, and I can print stamps using my printer, so that when I go to the post office, it's just drop off the order, and then I'm done. Now, I guess some of that is a process, right? But then the system part would come into play. Like, if it's a side hustle, what do you do when you go on holiday? Or if you're out of town, like, you know, like, I guess that's some of the things that you've dealt with, right? Like you travel, but you have a physical business which exists online. So how do you manage things when there are other things going on?
That's the thing you're talking about, freelancers and side hustle. Mine's...
No, but like in the example,
that comes to a certain point, right?
So like when you're making clothes
in your business,
okay,
where you have enough money to pay for employees, because until then, that's the thing about starting a business, is that I want to be my own boss. You just have different bosses now, and they're called customers, right? So you can't go on a vacation just like you can't go on a vacation when you have a 9-to-5 job. You just can't go whenever you want. You have to meet certain requirements. So if you own your own business, too bad, you're not gonna be able to go to the Bahamas probably for the next 5 years, because you're gonna be so immersed.
But let's stick on like online business or side hustle, because
that's the thing though, who's gonna do it? You don't have enough money you're generating, who are you gonna pay?
So that's where a system could come in play, right? Let's put that one on one side for a little bit, and let's think about something like you decide to have a pet, right? Work with me on this one, right? But you have a pet, and then you want to go on holiday. Who's going to look after the pet? Like, that could be a deal breaker for a lot of people. Like, I don't want to have a pet because I travel several times a year. There's no one to look after the pet, therefore I can't have a pet. So I'm guessing that, so if we look at a business in a similar way, where there are times when...
babysitters, man, there's pet hotels now.
Right. So you develop a system that enables you to still go on holiday and have a pet. So if you've got a business, and it could be that you're out of the country, or you've got an employee who's sick, or, you know, then you need a system that someone can then plug in
Yeah.
and execute that process. And then if they leave afterwards, they leave afterwards or whatever. But I guess to me, those are some of the challenges of small businesses, right? Which is that you don't necessarily, your system is everything revolves around you. The process revolves around you. And then that becomes your strength and your weakness,
I mean,
right?
if that's how you've built your business.
Yeah. So how do you get away from that? Like, how do you get away? Like, if you're a very, very small business. And
that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to say is that if you're too small, you have your limitations. Therefore, if you're trying to go to the Bahamas, and first off, how did you get the money to go there? Second of all, who are you going to pay if you're not making that much? If you're making $100 a day, then your total revenue is $100 a day because you're just starting. I mean, $100, that's $3,000. That's a nice little side hustle, but you just can't. You can't do that.
Okay, so it just occurred to me. Are you one of those people that believes that when you're starting out a business, you should sacrifice all those other things in life, like holidays and treats?
Yeah, that's. I guess. Yeah, I think I'm taking that for granted.
Because some people might say, "Oh, no. I'm setting up a business, but I still deserve a holiday, and I'm going to go on holiday." But they might not be necessarily pulling in the salary that they should be.
No.
So you would sacrifice the holiday.
You have to
put the money into the business.
I mean, it depends what you want in your life. If you want to be able to get to the point where it's just like school. We all went to school, right? At least some of us went and graduated, but we've all done primary school, and we all know that we have a test on Friday. We can't go to a party on Thursday night.
So how many years grind would you give it where you're making these sorts of sacrifices, like no treats, no holidays?
I don't know, but I know for the first 2-3 years, you're completely immersed.
Okay.
Because you're ironing out the problems. You're figuring out, man, this is not sustainable. Oh, wow, I just figured out this. Now this can make my business sustainable. So you're figuring it all. You're trying to understand your process. You're solving inefficiencies. You meet someone who helps you out with this. A new program comes out, an application you've been presented with now makes business easier, and you're starting to, oh, okay, cool. So now, like you said, it comes after some time where you realize, oh, let me do these fulfillment of orders in batches. Because if the UPS, DHL, FedEx guy comes at 3 p.m., there's no reason to pay for people to come, a contractor or whatever to come at 8 a.m. and he's sitting there all the way up until 1 p.m. to do orders for the next 2 hours to get picked up by the FedEx guy at 3 p.m. Yeah. So let me just start him at 1. And if there's an overflow, then he works from 3 to 5 because then 5 is the last pickup by the DHL guy. So that's when you start to figure out. So
that's the system. The process would be the actual physically putting the
steps, the
item into the bag and where you get from the order.
So that's what you have to clarify. If a person, that's why when you asked me, she asked, how do you create a system? I said, every business has a system. Whether it's inefficient or not is the real question.
Yeah.
So
here's another question. What, if you're a small business owner and you're doing basically everything all by yourself.
Yeah.
When you start to see after those 3 years that you're making headway, what are the first things that you feel comfortable handing over to somebody else to take care of? Like, are there any particular business functions?
So if you want to, I like the McDonald's because you see it as a customer. You've seen it when you order onion rings, French fries, a hamburger, and a shake. You see all of that occur, right? You get the order. If you see them, they're working, and then all of a sudden they look at the screen, and your order, you can see your order that pops up, and now the team's working, and one person's making your hamburger, another one's getting a drink, and the person who's working the cash register is taking the next order. So I like that example. And in terms of, what was your question again? How does...
So which tasks...
So it's...
Would you hand over? Like, some people might say, when my business gets a little bit big, I don't do my own marketing anymore. I get an agency to do it. Or the IT, I outsource it and we get somebody who...
I think the monotonous, repetitive ones, shipping. So to take your example of an online clothing shop, that's the same thing. You pick the products, you put it in a package, you stick it in, you stick it inside the UPS box, you have someone print it, packaging and shipping takes a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
And you did that with your shirt company. You see that man, you get just like the McDonald's example. Oh, you look at your phone, your email, I got an order. Oh, we got to make meal 73. So then you start putting everything together. You go, what did you do? You probably picked the shirt, you checked it. Okay, this is the right size. So you have to have extra small, medium, large. So you have it, but you have your black, your green, your yellow, your pinks, all in order. So, but if you have your blacks here, your yellows here, you have them mixed up, you have different sizes, that's inefficient.
Yeah.
So then that's what I'm saying. You start to refine. Oh, what I need to do is put all the colors here. Better yet, I should put all the colors in the same sizes. Oh, I should actually put the exact same SKUs together. Extra small, medium, large. And then you start to see all in order, and it cuts down your time.
And that's how he uses his OCD. So no, you're right, because I was smiling. Like, if people see me smiling, it was because I was thinking about how many things that I learned along the way. Now, one of them was, like, when I was selling t-shirts online, I couldn't afford to have them made by scratch, right? So what I mean is, like they weren't made like particularly for me. I got the best quality t-shirts, like you have Gildan, Fruit of the Loom, stuff like that, and I was printing designs on them.
There you go.
But I decided that I didn't want to sell a t-shirt that had Gildan or Fruit of the Loom as the label. So I actually got some labels created for my company, and then I had to design like a process where I was unpicking the Gildan and putting in my label
So now that's branding.
Yeah. That's branding. It sounds like really finicky. Well, finicky, that's not even a word. Finicky, that's the one. I'd say finicky because I think you used the word finicky yesterday, right? It sounds finicky, but it was worth it because I could charge more.
Absolutely.
And it was still worth it because I wasn't selling enough t-shirts to warrant like going to Turkey and like getting like a couple of thousand t-shirts done, because that's a whole nother ballpark, because that's more money up front, and then when you get the delivery,
you need a warehouse.
Yeah, exactly. So it was worth it in that period of the business. But yeah, I learned a lot because if you didn't have a system, it's like literally you imagine.
So let's just say your online t-shirt company became a phenomenal success. First off, you probably wouldn't have done the PhD, became a professor. You would end up becoming a t-shirt company owner.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just say now whoa man, this one particular print of pink giraffe is just booming.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you're making 100, jumps up to 500. Now you're making 15 to 25. Wow, we're making 5,000 pounds a day.
Yeah.
We're getting orders from all over the world. Now you realize, dang, I can't do this on my own. So what do you typically do? You hire friends and family. Hey, dude, can you help me out? Oh, I can't. I go to school. Hey, when you get out of school, come and then work with me for the next 3-4 hours until you got to go home and do your homework. Yeah. Can you help me out then? Yeah, sure. So he comes over, you start paying him, and then all of a sudden you start to realize, oh, okay, and that's how companies start. So it's real organic.
You reminded me, there's one thing, so if I answer my own question, right, which I didn't intend to do, but I'm gonna, and I think you're exactly the same, there's one thing that I wouldn't hand over, and that's quality control. When you see your finished product produced. So what I learned about printing t-shirts was, doesn't matter how good the design is or your instructions or anything or meeting the printer, eventually I was at the stage where I physically had to be in the factory when they're printing the t-shirt and seeing it come off the conveyor belt to see if that was the color, if the positioning is right, because then I could change it. Otherwise it's like, you're disappointed, you get the order and like there's like several hundred t-shirts that are just wrong. Right, so I knew that I had to be there because it was my vision. My eyes were better than anybody else's eyes. I didn't care who the designer was, who the printer was. It's my money, it's my design. I had to be there.
Yeah.
So my advice would be like, even if you think, oh, let me get these things made in India or something like that, you have to go to India and you have to see the products being made. Because I remember there's one dude that I knew that got like the football shorts made, and when he got them back, when people put them on and they bent over, they ripped up the backside, and he couldn't sell them. But you've done the same thing, right? Because when you get your ties made, you go to the country.
No, I mean it's done now. The process is.
No, but didn't you? But I remember you going on trips and stuff but you would talk to like factory owners, face to face, right?
Yeah.
Right, so you were involved in the process.
You develop relationships, you get better prices. I mean, that
so you wouldn't do the Skype call, right? It was worth the
absolutely.
the flight.
That's all. Yeah, business is all about relationships, but that's later on. The thing is, what you're doing, and that's what you have to do as a small business owner, is that you're very inefficient, right? Because you're buying Hanes shirts. They're not the best shirts, but they're the cheapest for you. However, if you had economies of scale, what you would do is buy 10,000 of them.
Yeah.
You know, a better fit, a better model. But then now you have the upfront of it, and where am I going to put 10,000 shirts?
Yeah.
So you have to be inefficient. You're going to have more costs, but it's much more manageable, right? Because you saved money by buying 10,000 shirts, but now you're wasting money on warehousing. So you're paying import taxes. All these different things come into play. So my point is that the first couple of years of your business, you got to be there every day. You're going to be the one establishing the culture. You're going to be the one writing the manual. I hope if you're a small business owner, you're writing the manual, because you have to have a manual, because it's got to be replicatable and duplicatable.
So what's in the manual?
Everything. Every minute thing is in there, because you want it to be done. So, for example, you were saying you get to a certain point where now you're what I don't know, what did I say? Pink giraffe shirt. You're now going off and doing bigger things now. We may even venture into polo t-shirts and hats. So you have bigger fish to fry. You're still making good money, and the system is making you money, but you can't be looking at every shirt. Therefore, you develop a system. Employee number one, who was your buddy, you've taught, hey dude, when we make the shirts, he comes to understand the culture. He helps create the culture with you.
So you write a manual.
She creates the culture for you. No, yeah, and that what I'm saying is you write the manual. He probably knows the manual. He can even write the manual, but I'm saying you write the manual, and then you pass it off to anyone who comes in place. So if it's not your buddy that's doing it anymore, because now you've had to make him vice president of sales and he's going to Asia and closing deals over there, now you have someone else who comes in, and they see, okay, number one, shirt must be centered. And when we say centered, it must be 55 centimeters from here, 25 centimeters from here. So now you're learning the process. So that's why when you have restaurants, for example, it's got to be the same hamburger every single time the customer comes. But if you have different chefs, different line cooks, that's going to be a problem. Because
so how many restaurants have you been to where you've had a really good experience and a great meal, and then you go back 3 months later wanting the same food?
And it tastes different.
Yeah.
So that's problematic. So for any business, it's got to be duplicatable, right? And then when you do, let's go back to the restaurant, you get that restaurant doing exceptionally well, then you can copy paste it.
Do you want to talk about the restaurant that you had?
No. It's in my book. So you get it to godthroughmoney.com. You're going to be able to read it there. But
he used to have a restaurant.
Yeah, so I learned a lot from there too. So
Mexican.
Yeah. So when you are establishing that for the first year, you're not going to live the entrepreneur life, #jet set life. No, you're not doing any of that. You're in the trenches, figuring out efficiencies, and you're documenting it all so that when you go off to fry bigger fish, you have employee number 13 that can do the same job as you.
All right, so here's another question, slightly different. If the first 3 years are so crucial and you're learning so much about systems and processes, right? But you want to drive volume and sales, is there a balance between, like, let's say, because I think of some companies where it's great, they start up and within a few months they get some fantastic PR and they're on the tip of everyone's tongue. But whether they're able to deliver or not, who knows, right? And sometimes in hindsight you think, as much as you wanted the PR, I wish that we'd had it after 3 years, because in 3 years we were a better business. We had a system in place.
Growing too fast.
So what advice would you give to people that are trying to balance getting sales and publicity with actually building a robust business structure?
I'm all for slow organic growth.
Okay.
Because you get the PR, you crash your website. I mean, they're good problems, but they're problems nonetheless.
Yeah.
So you don't want to, your website crashes, you can't fulfill the orders. Now people start having a bad experience, right? So for me, it's the slow organic growth, because, building an edifice, you have to have a solid foundation. You do things step by step. If you try to do things really quick, you're trying to put up a beam, but your cement's not hardened, you're going to have problems.
Yeah.
So you have to wait. And that's why a lot of businesses they have some really, really deep problems because they grew too fast.
Yeah.
And now they're opening up too many shops. They get caught up in their hype. They're doing X, Y, all the PR. And then before you know it, people move on to something else. And now your business is not sustainable, and all the people who have now engaged your business have had a bad experience.
So how do you balance? Because we were speaking at a conference in Istanbul about branding and entrepreneurship, and we were telling people that they have to be the public face of the company. They have to get out there, just be more in people's face so they remember them and have a good experience. Is that a challenge too? Because is that an aspect of having a business? Like if you're putting yourself out there too early and saying, we're an amazing company, I'm a great entrepreneur or business owner, but maybe you haven't had 3 years worth of trade or something, is that going to hurt you long term, or doesn't it matter?
I think just be honest.
Okay.
Be upstanding. Be truthful. Be forthright.
You would advocate, so if someone like trying to be like really direct about it, because also there's a pressure with social media, everyone wanting to kind of talk things big, it would be just to be honest and say, look, this company's been going for 6 months. This is like my side hustle. I'm actually an accountant.
Yeah, document it. That's
and
cool.
just say, look, this is how we're dealing with your orders here. And I hope you enjoy what I do.
I think people would love that.
Cool.
People would love that documentation. Say, hey, we're in month 9. Really interesting thing I learned about just having your warehouse in order. Right? We didn't get this until last month. Jacob came in and he started wondering why boxes were in different places. And what we did is one evening, people want to hear that because they all want to start their own business too.
Yeah.
Right? And they're hearing from someone who's in the trenches, that's living the life that they want to live. And it's not as glorious. It's not as magnificent.
We've all heard the Amazon story, right? Of it started off as selling books from your kitchen table to like what it is now.
But it's that slow grind, man.
Okay.
That overnight success that takes 15 years.
Okay.
And that's why people want, and they start to franchise early. They want to open other properties. They slow down, so that your foundation is super solid, so that you're now extremely profitable. Location 1, company 1, product 1, and then when you go to do number 2, it's just copy paste.
Yeah.
And you're not having so many headaches because you already know everything. And if you're a small business owner, to your specific limit, because, for example, there's a certain things you just can't do, you need to understand or try to understand every step in the process of your business. So that, for example, when you're slowly growing, if one of your employees gets sick, you can jump in. You're not held hostage. I don't know what to do. So you realize in business, this is how you manage risk. And you learn this over time. Man, if he calls in sick, I'm screwed. So what do I do? That's why you have a pamphlet, you have a manual. So, hey, Becky, if no one comes in, these are the people you need to call. And if you need to do, first thing you want to do is, first thing to replace is shipping. If someone can pop into shipping is easy. These are the people you can call. They're ready. They're on time. That's a system.
Okay. So I want to kind of round up. If I'm correct in understanding what you've been saying, documentation is really important, right? And in the beginning, it might seem like overkill because if you've got no orders.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
So basically what I want to say is it might seem like overkill, but it's still worth doing. So whether you've got 1 order or 1,000 orders.
But it might be overkill if you're only getting 1 order. That's what I'm saying. You start to see the growth and realizing, this may take off. So
let me wrap up.
Yeah, well, because that's not what what I'm saying. Because if you're only making $20 a day, I'm not going to say write a manual. That's just, you don't need to.
But
you might die off. Most companies do die off. So don't write.
I was actually inspired by what I was going to say is.
Completely cut him off. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is, you should attempt to write a manual, but it doesn't have to be that detailed. It's an iterative document, right? So at the very basic level, it seems to me that you need to find a way to invoice people, right, so that you can ask for their money, and you need to find a way that you can receive people's money, and then you can keep your side of the bargain and give them what it is that they wanted in a timely fashion, right? And that requires some documents and basically some processes. The other things that I think I got from you is that, you know, where you need to have like a database of people's names and addresses that you can access, not just to spam them with emails and stuff, but so that you can see like, okay, we got a lot of orders, like in 2 years' time, we got a lot of orders from Canada. Why was that? Like, you know that people are in Canada. And if there are people making inquiries, can you ever follow up on them? Like think about how many times someone said, oh, you know, I really like your stuff. I wish you had a blue item. And then you think, oh, we're working on it. But then you forget to email them, like when you actually do get a blue item.
So this is where delegation comes in.
Right.
Because now shipping that takes a lot of time. These small logistical parts of your business, you need someone who can just help with those step-by-step process that's super repetitive and go and figure out, why did they all come from Mississauga? Why were our orders coming? Wow, there's someone there who's a super fan that has Pinterest that was posting our shirts. Interesting. So you need to be able to save your brain power for that. Not, you know, let's get more boxes.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to order more shipping labels.
Yeah.
So that's why delegation, and that's another problem with small business owners, is that they don't know when to let go. Because like you said, I have to be there for every single shirt, which is correct. You should. But there has to come a point where, hey, someone's got to pop in here so I can figure out why we were selling a whole bunch of shirts in Canada. And you just got to be able to let go. Recognize there's going to be some problems. He may make a batch of shirts and let a batch of shirts go through quality assurance. That's off according to your standards. Yeah, you lost $1,000, but because you were brainstorming why we were selling so many shirts in eastern part of Canada, you've now made 25,000. You lost 1,000. You net 24. That's how people need to think. And that comes with the mindset. That comes through mentorship, being with other business owners. But I think that, like I said, it's slow growth. And you just have to keep learning the process, talking to people who've owned businesses, who own businesses, who've had businesses 15 years. I'm speaking for more than over a decade of experience. And yeah, there was a time, I remember a few nights, I had to write a manual. Every single thing. Mine was super detailed, but like you said, it's a great point. It's a living document. Oh, this is what, I forgot about this. Because people are like, hey, what do we do if such, oh, okay, put that into the document. And then put that in the cloud, and then anyone can access it. So yeah, it's just being a student, being always open, and recognizing that there are certain tasks that just yield more money. Yeah, you might take a loss here because no one cares about your money and your business like you. That's for sure, like you said about the shirt. But you've got to get to a point where, okay, I can't be staring at every single shirt being made. Let me put Timmy in here.
Yeah. I look at the start of the run, and then afterwards it's not so important. But once you've seen the first 2, 3, okay, right, okay, that's good. But you're right, eventually. But then the thing was, once I'd done that, it's with a new design. Once they could do that design well, it's basically saying, right, copy, paste, save.
Yeah.
That is how I want that every time. Make sure you made a note of the colors and everything, and then that template's done. It's only then I have to come back for another new design. If it's a reprint, then reprints are easy. You don't need anybody there, but it's that first. It's that first thing. Yeah. It's like making pancakes. The first pancake is always terrible. Yeah. You ever noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the pan is like not right.
It's too hot. Yeah, the butter, oil. Yeah, everything. Yeah.
After that, cool.
Is that it?
We're done.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in. Take care. Peace.